You know that moment when everything feels quiet, and then one voice suddenly change your whole day? That is exactly what happened to Lena. She had no idea that opening her small bedroom window that calm evening would lead to a moment she would remember for a very long time. It began with a simple breeze, soft, warm, almost gentle enough to make her forget how confused her heart had been lately. Lena stood in her room trying to clear her thoughts. She had spent the whole day wondering why Daniel, the man she trusted more than anyone else, had grown distant over the last week. He was her closest friend, her steady place, her constant support. But something had shifted. He had spoken less, smiled less, avoided her eyes when they met. It hurt, more than she wanted to admit. So she walked to the window. She unlocked it slowly. She pushed it open, hoping the cool evening air would steady her feelings. But before the breeze reached her, a voice reached her first. His voice. "Lena, please don't close the window. I need to say something." She froze. She looked down and saw him standing on the small path below her house. Daniel, his hands in his pockets, his posture tense, his eyes lifted toward her, like he had been waiting for her to appear. She didn't expect him to be there, not at that hour, not after days of silence between them. Her heart tightened. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" He took a breath, one slow enough that she could almost hear the worry in it. "I didn't want to text. I didn't want to call. I needed you to hear this, in my actual voice." The tone of his words made her chest feel heavy and warm at the same time. He sounded nervous, sincere, maybe even a little scared. Lena leaned on the window frame. Her voice softened. "What happened? You've been so quiet." Daniel looked down at the ground for a moment. He rubbed the back of his neck. Then he lifted his gaze again. "I know," he said, "and I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pulled away like that." She swallowed hard. Hearing him admit it made her emotions rush all at once. "Then why did you?" she whispered. Daniel breathed out slowly. "Because I didn't know how to tell you something important, and the more I waited, the harder it felt. I didn't want to say it the wrong way." Lena blinked. "What is it?" His next words came gently, but quickly, as if the moment he saw her face, he couldn't hold them back anymore. "I never meant to hurt you. I've just been trying to figure out how to tell you the truth, the full truth, about how I feel." Her heart stopped for a beat. The way he said feel, the softness in his tone, the quiet urgency, it all made her chest warm in a way she couldn't ignore. But Daniel wasn't finished. He looked up at her window with steady eyes. "Lena, before anything else, I need you to know this. I didn't distance myself because of you. I distanced myself because I care more than I should, and I didn't know how to handle it." Her breath caught. Those words hit her fast, hard, unexpected. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Daniel continued quietly, almost afraid she might turn away. "And I know this might change things. I know it might confuse you, but I couldn't keep it inside anymore." The wind picked up slightly. It moved through the trees. It brushed her hair softly. But Lena didn't move. She couldn't. Her heart felt too full, too overwhelmed, too unsure of what to say next. And Daniel, he stood below her window, waiting for her response like it was the most important moment of his entire week. She held the window frame a little tighter, staring down at him with wide, uncertain eyes. She wasn't ready, not yet. But something inside her whispered that this moment, this confession, was only the beginning, and the next few seconds might change everything between them. Lena took a slow breath, trying to steady her voice before she answered him. But before she could speak, Daniel lifted his hand slightly, hesitant, hopeful, and said softly, "Please, just tell me you're still there." His voice trembled. She felt her heart do the same. For a moment, Lena just stood there, holding her breath. Daniel's words were still echoing around her, soft, honest, unexpected enough to make her heart feel both heavy and light at the same time. She leaned a little farther out the window so he could see her clearly. "I'm here," she said quietly. The relief that washed over Daniel's face was almost visible from where she stood. His shoulders relaxed, his jaw unclenched, his eyes softened in a way that made her chest tighten. "Thank you," he murmured. "I wasn't sure if you wanted to hear me." Lena looked down at him and shook her head gently. "Daniel, I've been wanting to talk to you all week. You're the one who disappeared." He winced a little. "I know, I should have handled everything better." The breeze moved around them again, carrying the quiet between their words. Lena crossed her arms on the window frame. Her voice turned calm, though her heart was anything but. "Then tell me the truth," she said. "What made you pull back? What changed?" Daniel stayed still for a moment. Then he took a small step closer to her window, stopping right at the edge of the path. "It wasn't something bad," he said softly. "It wasn't something you did. I felt something new, something I didn't expect, and it scared me." Lena felt that familiar tightening in her chest. "Something new?" He nodded. "I started seeing you differently," he said. "Not just as, the friend I always counted on." Her breath trembled slightly. She tried to speak, but nothing came out at first. Daniel continued. "The more time we spent together, the more I felt it. And when I realized it wasn't going away, I panicked. I thought if I said the wrong thing, I'd ruin what we already had." Lena lowered her eyes for a moment. She understood fear. She understood doubt. She had felt both many times before. But she hadn't expected this. She looked back at him slowly. "Why didn't you trust me enough to tell me sooner?" "I did trust you," he said quickly. "Too much, maybe. That's why I was scared. Losing you would have been the one thing I couldn't handle." Those words went straight to her heart. Warm, deep, sincere. Lena felt her voice soften without meaning to. "You wouldn't have lost me." Daniel looked up at her, eyes steady. "You say that now, but I didn't know how you'd feel. I didn't want to push you or make things strange." She understood that, too. Feelings were complicated. Timing, even more so. Still, she needed clarity. "What exactly are you feeling?" she asked, choosing her words carefully. Daniel looked up toward her window with the kind of honesty she had never seen in him before. "I care about you," he said, "but not in the usual way. It's deeper. It's different. And once I realized that, I couldn't look at you without feeling something strong, something I wasn't ready to admit." Lena felt her heartbeat slow, then speed up again. His words wrapped around her like the wind itself. She whispered, "Daniel?" He raised a hand gently, as if asking her to wait one more moment. "There's more," he said. She stayed silent, letting him speak. Daniel took a breath and said softly, "I didn't distance myself because my feelings changed. I distanced myself because they didn't stop changing." Her lips parted slightly. She didn't expect that. His voice grew quieter, but somehow even clearer. "Every day I saw you, something inside me got stronger, and I didn't know if I was allowed to feel that way." Lena frowned just a little. "Allowed? Daniel, no one has to give you permission for your feelings." He nodded slowly. "I know, but I wasn't sure if you'd ever feel the same. And instead of asking, I just stepped back, which hurt you, and that's the last thing I ever wanted." His honesty made her chest ache in a new way. Not painful, just full. She rested her cheek against the window frame for a moment, trying to steady her emotions. "Daniel," she whispered again, "why tell me all this now?" He hesitated. Then he looked straight into her eyes. "Because when I saw your light turn on tonight, I realized something. I would regret it for a long time if I didn't tell you the truth." Her breath caught. He continued, "And I know I'm risking a lot by saying this, but I'd rather risk it than stay silent another day." Lena felt her heart sway between fear and warmth, between confusion and hope. She didn't know what to say, not yet. But Daniel wasn't expecting her to answer right away. He simply stood there, waiting, giving her space while still holding on to the moment. She looked down at him, her voice quiet, unsure, trembling slightly. "I don't know how to respond," she said honestly. Daniel nodded with understanding. "You don't need to give me an answer tonight. I just needed you to hear the truth from me, not from a message or a rushed conversation." Another small breeze passed between them, soft, gentle. Then Daniel said something that made her heart stir again. "But if you don't mind, can I stay here for a bit, just to hear your voice while you think?" Lena gazed at him. His sincerity, his patience, his quiet hope. Everything about this moment felt fragile and meaningful. She opened her mouth to answer, but something inside her paused. A soft cliff of emotion formed, holding her right on the edge. Lena stayed quiet for a moment. Daniel's question hung softly in the air. He wasn't asking for anything big. He wasn't asking for a decision. He only wanted to stay close enough to hear her voice while she sorted her feelings. It was gentle, unexpectedly gentle. She finally nodded. "You can stay." Daniel exhaled, almost like he had been holding his breath for too long. "Thank you," he whispered. Lena rested her arms on the window frame again. The moonlight made everything calm and soft. It felt like the world had slowed down just enough for the two of them. She studied him for a moment. The way he stood there, unsure but hopeful, made her heart feel warm. "You really scared me this week," she admitted quietly. Daniel lowered his eyes. "I know, and I'm sorry. I never meant to make you feel like I was slipping away." "Then why didn't you just talk to me?" she asked softly. He hesitated before answering. "Because the truth felt too big, and I wasn't sure if you wanted anything different between us." Lena looked down at her hands. "I didn't know what I wanted either, but I knew I didn't want you to disappear." He lifted his head at that. His expression softened in a way that made her chest tighten again. "I never wanted to disappear from your life," he said quietly. "Not for a single moment." Lena felt her heart pull toward those words, slowly, carefully, like something inside her had been waiting to hear them. Daniel shifted slightly, leaning one shoulder against the tree beside him. "Can I ask you something?" he said. She nodded. "Were you upset because you thought you did something wrong, or because you didn't want distance between us?" Lena swallowed. Her voice came out softer than she expected. "Both," she admitted. "I thought maybe I said something that made you pull away, and I didn't want to lose the closeness we had." Daniel nodded slowly. "Then I owe you an even bigger apology. You shouldn't have felt that way because of me." Lena watched him carefully. His sincerity was real, warm, clear, but something inside her still needed more clarity. She asked, "Daniel, when you say your feelings changed, what do you mean exactly? I need you to be clear." He lifted his eyes toward her window. This time, there was no hesitation. "I mean, I fell for you," he said. Plain, honest, and gentle enough to make her breath stop. Lena's fingers tightened slightly on the window frame. Those words, even spoken softly, felt huge. Daniel continued, voice steady but emotional. "I tried to ignore it at first. I kept telling myself it was just a moment, just a strong week, just something that would fade. He shook his head lightly. But it didn't fade. It grew. Every day I saw you, every conversation we had, everything made it stronger. Lena felt her heartbeat move in slow, heavy waves. "But why were you scared to tell me?" she asked. "Because I didn't want to lose the friendship we already had," he said, "and because I didn't know if you could ever see me the same way." A quiet wind passed through the trees, brushing softly against both of them. Lena lowered her voice to a whisper. "You should have told me." Daniel looked at her with a small, almost sad smile. "I know, and I'm here now telling you everything I should have said earlier." She gazed down at him. Her heart wasn't racing anymore. It was steady, warm, full of questions, but also full of a strange new hope. She took a slow breath. "Daniel, I don't know how to respond yet. I don't want to say the wrong thing." He nodded with complete understanding. "I don't need an answer tonight, really. I just needed you to know the truth." She studied him again. He wasn't pushing her. He wasn't expecting anything from her. He was simply being honest, open, and more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. And that alone touched something deep inside her. "Can I ask you another question?" Lena said softly. "Anything," Daniel replied. She hesitated. Her voice trembled slightly. "If your feelings are that strong, why did you come tonight? Why now?" Daniel looked down for a moment, gathering his thoughts. When he lifted his gaze again, his expression was calm but full of emotion. "Because I realized something earlier," he said. "When I didn't hear from you today, when everything between us still felt distant, I understood that staying quiet was hurting both of us." He paused, then added, "And when I saw your room light turn on, I felt this sudden pull, like if I didn't tell you now, I'd regret it for a long time." Lena felt something warm spread through her chest. She whispered, "Daniel." He waited, silent, present, patient. Lena looked at the night sky for a moment, then back at him. "I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I need a little time to understand what I'm feeling." Daniel gave a small, grateful smile. "Time is okay," he said softly. "I've waited all week without knowing if I'd ever get to say any of this. I can wait a little longer while you figure things out." His words were steady, but the emotion behind them was gentle and strong. Lena felt her heart warm again, but also tremble at the edges of something new. She took a breath, wanting to say something meaningful back to him. But before the words could come out, a sudden shift in Daniel's expression made her pause. His eyes softened even more. His voice dropped to a quiet, vulnerable tone. "There's one more thing I need to tell you," he said. Lena froze slightly. Something in his tone felt different. She whispered, "What is it?" Daniel looked up at her window, and the next words were clearly difficult for him to say. "I didn't just come here to confess my feelings," he said softly. "I came because something happened today, something I wasn't planning on telling you, but now I think you deserve to know." Lena's breath caught. Her heart tightened. Her voice trembled. "What happened, Daniel?" He hesitated, took a slow breath, then lifted his eyes with a mixture of fear and courage, and that moment held the weight of something she wasn't prepared for. Lena felt her heartbeat slow, then speed up again. Daniel's voice had changed, soft, uneasy, filled with a weight she didn't recognize. She leaned a little farther out the window. "Daniel, what happened?" He looked down at his hands for a moment. He rubbed them together, almost like he was trying to steady himself. Then he lifted his eyes again. "Something came up today that made me realize how quickly things can change. and how easily people can drift apart without meaning to. Lena felt her chest tighten. "Are you leaving?" she whispered quickly. The thought hit her so fast she didn't even have time to hide it. Daniel's eyes widened. No, I'm not leaving. Nothing like that." Her breath released, but her worry didn't fade. He continued, "This morning, I got a message from someone I haven't heard from in a long time." Lena watched him closely. "Who?" "A friend," he said softly. "Someone who used to mean a lot to me." Lena's heart gave a small, confused squeeze. "Did they want something from you?" Daniel nodded slowly. "They reached out because they're going through a difficult time. They needed help, and they wanted to talk about us, about how things ended." Lena swallowed. "So you talked to them?" "Yes," he said, "but the conversation made me realize something important, something that scared me more than I expected." Lena's voice came out uneasily. "What scared you?" Daniel took a step closer to her window. His expression wasn't sad, it wasn't angry, it was thoughtful, deep. "When we talked," he said slowly, "I understood how different things feel when you lose someone you care about, even when you don't want to." Lena's breath caught again. Daniel continued, voice low but clear. "It made me realize how much I didn't want that happening between us. Not now, not ever." Lena softened a little. He wasn't talking about old feelings. He wasn't talking about going back to someone else. He was talking about fear, about learning something the hard way. "So that's why you came here tonight?" she asked gently. He nodded. "I didn't want to wait another day," he said. "I didn't want to keep pretending I was okay keeping my distance from you, and I didn't want you thinking you had done something wrong." He breathed in deeply, then added, "Talking to that friend reminded me that silence can break the strongest connections, and I didn't want silence breaking ours." Lena felt something warm spread through her chest again. She whispered, "I'm glad you came." Daniel looked up at her with soft eyes. "Are you?" "Yes," she said quietly. "I didn't want things to stay the way they were. You mean too much to me for that." Daniel's expression shifted just a little, a hint of hope, a small spark she had never seen so bright before. "What do I mean to you?" he asked softly. The question settled into the air. Not heavy, not demanding, just honest. Lena felt her heart thump harder. She looked down at her hands. Then she looked at him again. "You matter to me," she said slowly, "in a way that's hard to explain." Daniel waited. She could tell he wasn't expecting a perfect answer. He just wanted her truth. Lena continued with a shaky breath. "I missed you this week, more than I expected. And when you stopped talking as much, it hurt. It confused me. It made me realize I wasn't as calm about you as I thought." Daniel's eyes softened even more. "Lena?" She wasn't finished. "And when you said you cared about me in a different way, it didn't scare me. It surprised me, but it didn't scare me." Daniel tilted his head gently. "Then what did it make you feel?" Lena hesitated. Words felt too big, too heavy, too honest. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly. "It made me feel warm," she whispered, "and seen, and important." Daniel took another quiet step closer. "Because you are important," he said softly. Lena felt her heart almost tremble at his tone. He continued, "And I never want you to doubt that. Not because of my silence, not because of my fear, not because of anything I failed to say sooner." Lena rested her elbows on the window frame, leaning toward him just a little more. "So, what now?" she asked softly. Daniel took a slow breath. "I don't want to rush you, and I don't want to push you. I just want us to talk, honestly, the way we should have all along." She nodded. "That sounds fair." He smiled a little. Soft, grateful. Then can I ask you one last question tonight? He said. Lena nodded. Yes. Daniel's expression shifted again. Not fearful, not hesitant, just sincere. If I told you I want to try, he said gently, not tomorrow, not someday, but soon. Would you let me? Lena blinked. Her heart felt full and unsteady all at once. Try what? She whispered. Daniel looked directly into her eyes. To be something more with you. Lena's breath caught. Her fingers curled lightly against the window frame. She didn't answer right away. She couldn't. Her heart wasn't ready to give the wrong answer or the right one too fast. Daniel waited. Silent, steady, hopeful. Lena opened her mouth to speak, but the emotion rising inside her stopped her words at the edge of her lips. Lena stayed quiet for a few long seconds. The night felt still. The breeze softened. Even the distant sounds of the street seemed to fade away, leaving only the space between her and Daniel. His question lingered gently in the air. Would you let me try to be something more with you? Lena's heart felt tender, full, unsure, and hopeful all at once. She wasn't used to someone speaking with such honesty or such patience. She looked down at Daniel again. His eyes weren't demanding. They weren't desperate. They were simply open, ready to accept whatever she felt. She took a slow breath. Daniel, she whispered, I don't want to make a promise I'm not ready for. He nodded gently. I understand. But, she continued, I also don't want to close a door that maybe I do want to open. Daniel's eyes lifted with the smallest spark of hope. Lena leaned on the window frame, her voice soft but clear. Everything feels different tonight, she said, and I'm not pretending it doesn't. Daniel swallowed lightly. Different in a good way? Lena nodded. In a way that scares me, but also feels right. A quiet smile touched Daniel's face. I'm not asking for a big answer, he said softly. I'm just asking if you'll let me take one small step closer. She paused, then nodded once. I will. Daniel released a breath he didn't know he had been holding. His shoulders relaxed. His expression warmed. Thank you, he said, voice quiet with emotion. Lena felt her heart steady. Then she asked the question that had been sitting inside her since he first appeared below her window. What happens next? Daniel stepped a little closer to the wall beneath her window, not touching it, just standing near enough to feel connected. Next, he said, I keep showing up honestly. No disappearing, no silence, no pulling away when something feels big. Lena's voice softened. And me? You just keep being you, he said, and take things at the pace you need. The words felt safe, warm, real. Lena rested her chin briefly on her arm, looking down at him with a gentle expression. You know, she said, when you stopped talking as much, I was afraid you stopped caring. Daniel shook his head immediately. No, he said, not even for a moment. I cared so much, it overwhelmed me. She smiled faintly, a soft, small smile that made Daniel's eyes brighten. And now, she asked. Now I'm done being afraid, he said. I just want to be honest with you, even if it takes time for us to figure it out. Lena felt warmth gather inside her chest, slow, steady, comforting. She looked at him and asked gently, Do you really think we could work like that? Slowly? Daniel nodded. I do, he said, and I think slow might be the best way. That way we don't lose what we already have. Lena thought about that, about their friendship, their closeness, the way they understood each other without having to try. Then she whispered, Then let's go slow. Daniel's expression softened into something peaceful. I can do slow, he said quietly. as long as it's with you. Lena felt something flutter inside her. Not rushed, not pressured, just warm. She looked out at the quiet street, then back at him. "So, what now?" she asked again, this time with a tiny smile. Daniel returned the smile. "Now," he said, "I walk you to this window again tomorrow. Same time, same place, and we talk. And we keep talking." Lena's eyes softened. "You already planned that?" "Only if you said yes," he admitted. She shook her head lightly, amused by his honesty. "You're really not leaving anything to chance, are you?" "Not anymore," he said. Lena let the warmth in her chest settle. It felt right, calm, hopeful. She looked at Daniel one last time that night. "I'll be here," she said, softly, "tomorrow." Daniel's smile grew just a little. "Good," he whispered. "I'll be here too." For a moment, they simply looked at each other. No rush, no pressure, just two hearts finally meeting in the same place. Then Lena slowly pulled the window a little closer, not closing it fully, just enough to show the night was ending. "Good night, Daniel," she said gently. "Good night, Lena," he replied. His voice reached her the same way it had at the start, soft and full of feeling. She held the window for one more second, then let the night settle around her. Down below, Daniel took one step back, one hand in his pocket, a quiet smile on his face as he walked away slowly. Not distant, not unsure, just hopeful. And Lena? She touched the window frame with her fingertips, feeling the warmth of everything that had just changed. Everything wasn't certain yet, but it didn't need to be. Slow was enough. Honesty was enough. And tomorrow was waiting for them both.